Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Self-Confidence Project. I'm your host, Kimberly, and today I want to give you the understanding of how to spot an emotionally immature woman. And I want you to be able to do this in 2 dates or less. Now, this isn't about rushing or judgment, but it is about understanding that while a woman can be beautiful, she can be charming, she can be very intelligent, and knowing that she can still be completely unavailable for a healthy relationship. Because emotional immaturity doesn't always look like chaos in the beginning of getting to know somebody. Sometimes it's actually hidden under polished conversation, great manners in the beginning, or great first impressions. So if you truly understand what to watch for, you can spot this with the women that you're dating within the first 2 dates because people do reveal themselves. Now, today I am going to share 4 subtle behaviors that will tell you a woman is emotionally immature. And then I am going to make sure that you know that these are in fact linked to decades of psychological research, so you know exactly why these things matter. But I encourage you to take this video a layer further. So what I want to ask of you is that not only do you listen to me talk today so that you can understand and spot these traits in women, I want you to gain a layer of self-awareness as well by asking yourself whether you're actually doing some of these same things without realizing it. So finding an emotionally mature woman will make up only half your relationship. Obviously, you need to be bringing in that maturity yourself. You need to bring in your own grounded energy so that you can both sustain a deeply loving relationship. So you're going to learn how to spot it in women. And I want you to also walk away from this video going, hey, maybe there's 1 or 2 areas I need to improve on. Or you might go, you know what, I'm actually pretty damn mature. So firstly, welcome to this channel. If you are new and you are interested in this video, I just want to welcome you here. We talk all things life and dating and relationships. I am a dating and relationship coach for men. I support good-hearted men to navigate dating, the complexities of modern dating. I help them navigate dating after divorces, separation, or the end of long-term relationships, or men that are just emotionally ready for a deeply committed, loving, long-term relationship with a good woman. And so if this is something or an area of your life that you're struggling in, you need some support, you are welcome to book a complimentary call with me. I'll get to know you, see if coaching's right for you. It'd be lovely to chat. And if I'm not the right fit or coaching's not the right fit, I'm happy to point you in a direction that might feel more valuable to you. Now, why emotional immaturity matters and how can you learn to spot this kind of scientifically? Now, when psychologists measure personalities, there is one framework that has very much stood the test of time, which is the big 5 personality traits. And this is not some pop quiz, right? This is not some dating gimmick. It's not some filter on Hinge, right? This has been developed over decades of research. It's been studied cross-culturally, and it's used clinically by psychologists. Now, when I first heard of this, it was through the mouth of Dr. Jordan Peterson. I understand some people really like him, some people don't really like him, but he has done extensive work with this model, and this is when I first heard references to the big 5 personality traits. Now, the big 5 measures, number 1, your openness to experience. So things like your curiosity, your willingness to explore new things. The big 5 measures conscientiousness. So one's reliability, one's organization, one's follow through. It measures extroversion. So your energy in social situations. It measures agreeableness. So we're talking about empathy, cooperation, compassion here. And it also measures neuroticism. So one's emotional stability or one's instability. And here's why this matters in dating, right? Obviously, someone's personality matters in dating, but emotional immaturity almost always shows up in certain combinations of these traits. And I want you to be able to spot these things early on. Why? So you don't overinvest or waste time or chase or pursue women that just are not available for the healthy relationship you truly desire. So, for example, if a woman has low conscientiousness, then she's not going to be very good at following through on what she says she is going to be doing. If a woman has low agreeableness, you're going to notice that she's quite combative or very self-focused. If you meet a woman who's high in neuroticism, you're going to notice that she tends to overreact, she gets upset easily, and she just seems to be the type of woman that thrives on drama. Now, the beauty of starting to understand all of this is that you don't need, a white coat and a chemistry lab to figure this out, right? People will reveal these traits to you naturally in conversation and in their behavior. Sometimes people will do this within moments of meeting them or talking with them. So let's get into these 4 red flags ultimately that you can spot in just 2 dates that tell you a woman is just too emotionally immature for a relationship with you at this period of your and her life. Now, red flag number 1 is what I like to consider the victim narrative. And this is ultimately going to be demonstrated in a woman who consistently paints herself as the wronged party in past relationships, in her friendships, or in work environments. So it doesn't have to necessarily be in relationships, but it can be in romantic relationships, but it's in relationships. So some of the behavioral clues that you want to be very mindful of is whether a woman, when you match with her online or you go on your first date with her, she's talking at length about these toxic exes that she has collected without acknowledging any role she played in those relationships. The victim. I was a victim of this person and that person and that person. So be mindful, because you might be thinking, wow, that's awful. That's very plausible that these things happen. And that's really awful that this happened to you. And wow, like this is a terrible life story that you've been through. But if you're listening to a woman blame others without acknowledging her role in things, please be very mindful of this woman. Now, this woman might describe repeated situations where everybody else was the problem, but not her. Run for the hills, right? Or you might notice that she's a really critical, negative tone when she talks about her past. And why this matters, guys, is because this will signal low agreeableness, low empathy for others' perspectives, and high neuroticism, high emotional instability. Now, I do remember, and I have actually worked with a number of male clients who have dated women prior to working with me or the start of working with me. They got really wrapped up in a woman because she was what? Very beautiful, right? And so this particular client that I'm thinking about went out on a date with a woman who told him pretty much within the first 30 minutes, I think, of their date, that every man she had dated in the last 10 years was a narcissist, right? So this was a pattern for her. And I remember my client saying to me later, he went, Kimberly, thank you for helping me understand what to look out for, because I didn't really recognize that she was in this victim mindset until you pointed it out. And he goes, I never really realized that she never once was mentioning what she learned or how she grew from those relationships. And he goes, that was the dead giveaway for me that, I was just going to be the next narcissist in her collection of narcissists. And so the truth is, when we are smitten, entangled, looking at someone attractive, we very often ignore the deeper intuition we have that something's wrong, or we just don't have the education to know what signs to look out for. So I remember this client, those things, obviously that relationship didn't work out and he chose not to pursue it. And I'm glad that he didn't, because he met someone else who was in fact very emotionally mature, and he's gone on to have a lovely relationship with her. So please be mindful of individuals that blame the world and not take any self-responsibility. It's very much a victim mindset. Red flag number 2 is inconsistency between somebody's words and somebody's actions. And what you're going to notice is a woman says one thing to you, but she behaves another way. And even if this is happening in small ways, please be mindful of it. So behavioral clues will be she says she's easygoing. However, she's complaining about the table that you got sat at. Or she says she's easygoing, but complained about the drink, or complained about the food, or complained about the noise, or complained about something, right? So I'm saying I'm this, but I'm behaving in contradiction to that. Or this kind of woman is the one that agrees to plans with you, but cancels last minute without urgency. So she says one thing and then is doing another thing. And I know a lot of men get really wrapped up in this one because you want to give people the benefit of the doubt. And you might find her really strikingly beautiful, so you give her extra benefit of the doubt. But please be mindful of this one. If a woman cancels last minute on you without urgency, you want to understand, like, she's showing you who she is, right? Now, what about a woman that talks about, how much she values honesty and respect in a relationship, but then she might value honesty, and then you ask her a direct question and she diverts, right? So she doesn't actually answer it. Or she's very charming, so she downplays it or flirts with you to avoid having to answer that question. And why this is important is, why it's important to understand this is this points to low conscientiousness, which is a very big predictor, guys, of instability in long-term relationships. Now, one of my prior clients was dating a woman who just said she was really into health and fitness. But when they went out on their first date, she actually admitted she hadn't been to the gym in 6 months. Now, this isn't really about the gym, right? This is about whether her words were matching her reality. Because inconsistency, especially inconsistency early on in a dating relationship, usually means bigger inconsistencies later on. So don't ignore those little things that make you pause, and because that's your inner wisdom trying to tell you something. So don't ignore it because she's beautiful or she's charming or you haven't been on a date for a while, right? Now, another red flag to be mindful of is a woman who overreacts to what would be described as minor things. So this is disproportionate emotional responses to small stressors, tiny stressors, which might be like snapping at the waitstaff or getting really angry at you for something that was like very minor. Maybe the way you put your arm around her or the seats you chose at this movies that you're taking her to. It's just a little minor thing, but she's kind of like, she overreacts, she snaps. I have a client that mentioned, so maybe some people won't consider this a small thing, but when maybe you present a different idea or different belief to the woman that you're dating and she freaks out at you, like the belief you have makes you the scum of the earth, don't then go try to fight for this woman's attention. If she isn't open to your perspective or to hearing you out, what's more important to her is her emotional reaction in that moment. She's the victim, right? So be mindful of how women behave. Now, what about if she gets visibly agitated because there's some small delay, right? I know some people they have a very strong value around time, and my time is something that you need to value. And understandably, everybody's time is valuable. But if there's a very short delay, like you're running 5 minutes behind, or you have to wait a little longer for the table at the restaurant, and you notice she's like really annoyed by that, just take note of these things, right? Don't ignore these things. Take note of them. Or she speaks with intense negativity about little inconveniences. And this matters because this is a woman who is going to be ranking higher in neuroticism, which is low emotional stability. You're going to be riding these waves, boy, if you stick around for this. Now, I had a client who had gone on a second date to a wine bar. And, you go to a wine bar, you're probably excited about the wine or your favorite wine is going to be there. And they didn't have the specific wine that she was really hoping for. And they had bonded over wine, right? And she was visibly upset for the next 15 minutes. And that's just not just about wine, right? That's a woman's inability to self-regulate. And guess what? That's going to be exhausting over time. So be mindful of overreactions to minor things. And lastly, guys, something really important to be mindful of for yourself, for the women you're dating, is poor boundaries with time, energy, and attention. So what you want to be noticing here is, does a woman you're dating, or do you, I'm going to call you guys out on this one because this is one I see men doing arguably the most, especially post-divorce, is you're demanding too much from the relationship too soon. And you're not really creating the space, the natural space to build a healthy relationship. So what a woman will do here, the behavioral clues you want to look out for is this woman is expecting constant communication from day one. She is going to be very upset if you don't reply to her instantly. Or she will share very deeply personal or heavy emotional information with you quickly online, on the first date, and on your second date, right? So what's happening here is this is often combining high neuroticism with low conscientiousness, which creates a lot of urgency and creates a lot of chaos, right? If someone doesn't have healthy boundaries around time or what they expect early on in a relationship, they may be in a place where they haven't had that model to them. They're not making the right choices for themselves. They're consuming the wrong types of information on social media that say men should do this immediately or women need to be doing this immediately. You really want a real loving long-term relationship to have room to breathe. It should not be coming with an instant set of unrealistic expectations for time, energy, and attention. So please be mindful of that, because I know it's easy to ignore these things when we feel good that we are getting some of the attention. For example, I had a client that met a woman who after the very first dinner was basically sending him a bunch of texts every day. And he thought it was really flattering at first. And then she started saying like, hey, how come you're not saying goodnight every night? And they got into this like pattern of texting. And while it was flattering at first for this guy, it actually it demonstrates a lack of emotional pacing. And it really started to open the door to bigger boundary issues. So I say all of these things because emotional immaturity isn't just about going around and judging someone else's character. It's about understanding these things so you can protect your own time and energy. And if you start understanding some of the traits to be looking out for with women and within yourself, right? This video is educational for self-awareness. But if you understand low conscientiousness, low agreeableness, high neuroticism, you can start to spot these behaviors earlier on, or at least learn to categorize those inner instincts that you might be having, that you might be choosing to ignore. And if you start listening to that, you'll avoid getting into a relationship that leaves you feeling ultimately very drained. So if you like this, right, you want to go deeper into understanding women's behavior, you want to build genuine attraction, you want to understand how to date after divorce, I do have a free masterclass. There's a link to it. You can go watch that for free. I've got various other bits and pieces that you can look into. I have an audio masterclass for talking and texting with women, and understanding the differences in communication there. I have a high impact masterclass on building a kind of dating profile that attracts healthy, right? Healthy aligned women to you. And what else? Of course, I have lots of other resources and freebie downloads you can access. And of course, I have the complimentary call with myself to see if one-on-one personalized coaching is the right thing for your life and your situation and the goals that you have. But nonetheless, I hope this has been a helpful educational video for you. I hope that you went a layer deeper and also asked yourself how you're showing up as well as noticing some of these big five personality traits in the women that you might be getting to know. And I hope that is providing helpful information so that you can make good choices in dating. Because when we choose to commit to somebody, like, commitments is not something we take lightly. Like, we're committing to who this person is. So you better get to know who this person is, and that includes yourself. So thank you guys for watching today's video, following all the way to the end. Please leave your comments and thoughts on the content of this video, as well as when did you know that someone wasn't right for you? What were the signs, the red flags that helped you get the clarity to know that this isn't the person that you want to continually invest in, that just isn't going to be right for you. Thanks, guys, for tuning in, and see you guys all next week. Ciao.